We are going to begin the funeral service for Mr. David Eidelman. If you have a cell phone, I'd ask you kindly to place it in the silent mode or turn it completely off at this time. I'd also like to welcome everyone via live stream. On behalf of the family, thank you. Services will be conducted by Rabbi Nate Crane and Cantor Pavel Reutman of Beth Hillel B'nai Emunah in Wilmette. And the rabbi is going to start with the ancient tradition of cutting of the kriya. So if the family would please rise.
Each generation approaches loss with a similar mindset. A mindset of searching for words and thoughts of comfort. And each generation has turned to our biblical tradition, to our biblical poetry, that of our Psalms. We'll begin our service with our 23rd Psalm.
Adonai roi lo echsar min adeshe yarbitzeni al mei menukot yenach aleini. Nafshi shavev yancheni v'maglei tzedek yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shema gam ki elech begeitz al mabit lo yirara ki ata imadi shiftecha umishantecha kema inachamoni. Taroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorerai dishanta vashemen roshi kosi revaya achtov vachesed Yerdefoni kol yimei kayai Veshavti bevein Adonai leorich yamim Adonai Roi lo echsar, Adonai roi, lo echsar.
We join together in the English which can be found on the inside of our handouts. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. A reading after the book of Job. Talmid chacham imet mi mevi lanu tmurato, ki yesh la kesef motza umakom lazahav yazku. There is no replacing a person of wisdom. There are mines for silver and places where gold is refined. Iron is taken from the earth and copper is smelted from the rock. But where can wisdom be found? And where is the source of understanding? There is no replacing a person of wisdom. There is no replacing our beloved David. L'kol zman ve'ed l'kol chefetz tachat hashamayim. Ecclesiastes teaches, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to slay and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to cry and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time for solitude, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time for silence and a time to speak. Now is our time to speak, our time to recall our most affectionate memories of David, his life, and the impact that he has made and continues to make. We'll begin by hearing from David's daughter, Jill.
I have a million stories. I know you all do too. I have a million memories. I know you do too. Never did I actually think I would be standing up here speaking about him after he left us, but here I am. If you knew him, you knew that my father was kind. You knew my father was funny. You knew that my father was genuine. You knew that my father was proud. My father was a fighter. Over the last 9 months, he fought to see one more baseball game, one more dance show, one more FaceTime. We are all my father's legacy, not just myself and my brother and our families. My father was not an astronaut, and my father was not a neurosurgeon. My father is the perfect example of how an average Joe, a regular great guy, leaves in his wake a slew of loving family and friends with millions of stories and millions of memories. We will miss him.
As we are gathered together with our heads bowed low, a heartbroken group of family and friends, we pay our final respects and a sorrow-filled farewell to our beloved David. David was the beloved husband of Judy for 50 years, loving father of Jill and Freddie, Matt and Tracey, proud grandfather of Tyler, Max, Jack, Charlie, Olivia, and Leah, dear brother of Alan, Zichrono Livracha, may his memory be an eternal blessing, and Sandra, who will be missed by many cousins, nieces, nephews, and many, many friends. As moments like this remind us, we live in the shadow of human vulnerability, and the painful truth is that none of us is destined to live forever, and that any given day might indeed be our last. There may be indeed, as I read a few moments ago from the book of Ecclesiastes, a set season for everything, a time for every experience, but our fate, that of humanity, is to live with incomplete and imperfect knowledge of when these seasons and times may occur. We are aware, as we read together as our 23rd Psalm, we're aware that we walk in the valley of the shadow of death. And as Etienne de Grelette is reputed to have said, I shall pass this way but once. Any good that I can do or any kindness I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer nor neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. And that is how David lived his life, showing kindness and love to others, never deferring nor neglecting. Whether you were David's family member or friend, you understood that you were valued and appreciated. The novelist Leon Uris taught life hinges on many factors we cannot control. One of the most important factors we can control is we can manage our relationships. And what is life but a series of relationships? David was exceptional at relationships, at building, maintaining, and honoring them with so many, including lifelong friends with whom he built those relationships beginning in the earliest grades and in high school, and continuing through his time in college at Wayne State University in the Alpha Epsilon Pi fraternity. He remained extremely close with many of those brothers throughout his life. And so too his close relationships with those whom he played softball when the kids were young. Afterward, he became the umpire. And it's important too to recall his very close relationship with Marty and Jan Stone. His talent of building those close relationships permeated all that he did and how he lived, which helped him to be very successful in his work as a flooring salesman, which would take the family from Detroit, David's hometown, of which he was eternally proud, to Chicago. And he was extremely loyal. He was extremely loyal to his sports teams, especially after choosing to root for the Cubs, inspired by Matt's appreciation of the Chicago team. Loving to go to games and following the team closely. And David was equally passionate about music, especially Bob Seger, whom he and Judy saw live many, many times. Most importantly, he was fiercely loyal to all of those who were his family members and his friends, especially his grandchildren, with whom he shared passions for sports and music and was so proud of all they accomplished, attending all the games, recitals, and performances he was able to, making sure that he knew and they knew how proud, invested, and interested he was in them. We're very grateful for David's partnership and love for and with Judy. A relationship that only grew brighter and more fantastic over their 50 years together, which shows us the power of David and Judy's commitment to one another and the wonderful life they built together as a team, complementing one another in the most critical ways. Their legacy shall remain forever with their family, consecrated through Jill and Freddie and Matt and Tracey's relationships, and the lessons they pass on lieu vador from generation to generation. Rabbi Sachs wrote, "Leaders see the destination, begin the journey, and leave behind them those who will continue it. That is enough to endow a life with immortality." Our tradition truly believes in immortality. And David leaves behind, just as Jill shared, a legacy shown through the interests, passions, and love of so many. His good work on earth was interrupted. And you, his devoted family, you bridged the chasm between what was and what will be, eradicating this loss by affirming love and life. David's love and kindness would find renewal in you and your commitment to family connection, and will continue to bring forth the fruits that he loved. Our sages observed, as their children live, they too live on. Given David's passion for cruising, I thought it fitting to share this allegory. When someone we love leaves this earth, the soul is believed to ascend heavenward. A loved one's presence and eternal legacy is likened to a ship sailing along the horizon. The ship sails along the waves beyond our vision, yet we know it's still there. The ship is likened to a raft when we seek comfort during times of adversity. And that ship may also be a cruise liner when we have joyous experiences and pride to share. Although the waters distance us from seeing the actual ship, we know it exists. Even though the waters prevent us and distance us in this moment from seeing David, we'll always sense his presence. The ship's whistle in the wind reminds us of the still small voice of those we lovingly remember. And David's image will be found in photographs, stories remembered, just like that ship sailing along the horizon. Because contained within is a treasure chest of memories for each and every one of you to cherish forever. May the soul of David be bound up in the bonds of everlasting life. May his memory be an eternal blessing. May his soul rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. We now rise for our memorial prayer, the El Maleh.
El Maleh Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamtzeh Menukane Konna, Takat Kanfei Ashkina, Memalot Kedushim Udehorim, Kezor Arakia Mashiri, Et Nishmat David Ben Zasman, Shekalak Levolamo, Meganein Enchem Menuchato, Anabal Varachamim, Astirecho beseder kenafecha leolamim, Utzroar bitzroar kakayim et nishmato, Adonai unachalato, V'yanuach beshalom al mishkavo, V'nomar Amen.
El Malay Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of our beloved David, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
Please be seated for a moment. This does conclude the service at the chapel. The family will receive condolences at the Feldman residence, 8050 Kenneth Avenue in Skokie. That'll begin today, beginning at 6:30 until 9. Tomorrow, Friday, until 11 till 4. Saturday evening, 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. or after sundown until 9 p.m. And Sunday from 11 until 4. If you didn't receive a pamphlet when you entered the chapel, the hours are on the folder as well as our website. Interment will take place at Memorial Park Cemetery. That's 9900 Grosse Point Road in Skokie. The procession will be forming in our parking lot. Please keep in mind a few safety features while in the procession. Keep your bright headlights on at all times. Put your emergency blinkers on. Attach the orange funeral sticker to the passenger portion of your front windshield, and we'll also attach a flag to the roof of your car. And please stay as close as safety permits to the car in front of you. The following people have been selected to serve as pallbearers. When I call your name, if you would step forward, please. Mr. Eidelman's son-in-law, Freddie Feldman, his daughter-in-law, Tracey Eidelman, his grandchildren, Tyler, Max, Jack, and Charlie, and a dear friend, Marty Stone. At this time, I would ask that everyone please rise as the family, the clergy, are escorted from the chapel.